Chapter 691. What is it? Azalea asked curiously. You've heard of the Mystic Arts Order, haven't you? Of course. It's the greatest dark faction of all time. It's even on par with Stonia's Celestial Alliance, Azalea answered. The Mystic Arts Order was a mysterious faction. Despite having only a few disciples, everyone in the group was trained in the mystic arts as well as martial arts. And because of their ruthless way of killing their targets discreetly, they quickly became the strongest dark faction of all time. I used to be part of the group, the Dark Lord said wistfully. I might not have been the brightest disciple there, but I was still a talented individual with a bright future. However, I was kicked out after committing a crime. Do you still wish to return there? Azalea asked. Of course. The Dark Lord nodded. That place is like heaven to people like us. It's filled with numerous secret arts and is home to many powerful fighters. If I can get back in, I'd be far stronger than I am now. You sound like you have a plan. Azalea watched her mentor. You're such a smart girl. The Dark Lord smiled softly. Michael Robinson is my ticket to return to the Mystic Arts Order. Do you know who his wife is? No. Azalea was puzzled. The Grand Sorceress, Catherine Hunter. The Dark Lord revealed. The Grand Sorceress. Azalea was astonished. The Grand Sorceress was the successor of the Mystic Arts Order and stood higher than anyone in the group. Most of the time, the leaders would keep themselves hidden from the world outside, so the responsibility of taking care of the order would fall onto the Grand Sorceress' shoulders. Hang on, Azalea suddenly recalled something. Didn't the Grand Sorceress die a long time ago? Catherine Hunter might be dead, but she has a daughter. The Dark Lord smiled sinisterly. Very few people know that she gave birth to a daughter after eloping with Michael Robinson. The leader of the order only discovered this after tracking Catherine down a decade later. To prevent the daughter from being taken away, Catherine and Michael fought against the order, and Catherine died during the battle. Michael then immediately fled with his daughter and hid himself from the world. I didn't expect myself to discover this secret today. Azalea finally understood what the Dark Lord was implying. Master, do you intend to trade this information with the Mystic Arts Order so that they accept you again? Bingo. The Dark Lord smiled. Since Catherine died, Michael Robinson's daughter naturally became the next Grand Sorceress, and the Mystic Arts Order would do anything to get their hands on her. I see. Azalea's eyes lit up. We sure hit the jackpot today. Exactly. As long as we bring the Grand Sorceress back to the Order, they will worship us endlessly, the Dark Lord boasted. He laughed maniacally before he began to cough violently. Are you all right? Flabbergasted, Azalea quickly comforted the Dark Lord. Michael managed to injure me earlier, and I was forced to use Blood Shield. I only have 10% of my power left. The Dark Lord wiped the blood off the corner of his lips. But that's nothing. As long as I can bring the Grand Sorceress back to the Mystic Arts Order, I'll recover in no time. I'll be stronger than ever. I can't believe you're letting me know such a huge secret. Azalea was touched. You're my favorite disciple and like a daughter to me. What's a little secret? As soon as I secure a position in the Order, I'll make sure to promote you too. The Dark Lord smiled. Master, thank you so much. I don't have anything to repay you with, so please accept my small gift. Azalea lowered her head. What is it? The Dark Lord inquired. Before he had time to react, a sharp dagger pierced his chest, shocking him. Here you go. An evil smirk appeared on Azalea's face. Chapter 692. Ugh. The Dark Lord was stunned. With his eyes wide open, he looked at the knife in his chest, then up at the smirking Azalea. His pale face was a mix of shock, disbelief, and confusion. It happened so suddenly that he still hadn't registered that he had been stabbed. Why? The Dark Lord asked in disbelief. He never expected his most beloved disciple to kill him. Your skills have greatly plummeted since you're seriously injured, rendering you defenseless. Today is the best day to kill you. Azalea smiled. By the way, I applied some Tranquerin on my blade. You're just like a little lamb waiting to be sacrificed now. I've treated you well. Why would you betray me? Just when have I ever treated you badly? The Dark Lord trembled, blood dripping from the corners of his mouth. You've never treated me badly. In a way, you've been quite kind to me. However, you still have to die, Azalea said plainly. Why? Why? The Dark Lord's emotions surged as he grabbed Azalea's hand, and his eyes turned red as he roared, I've treated you like my daughter since you were young. The other disciples have yet to receive such an honor. Why would you do this? Azalea slapped his hand away, her expression growing colder by the second. You want to know why? Fine. I'll tell you. It's because you killed my parents. The Dark Lord froze at her words, his eyes betraying his shock. Why are you silent now? Azalea scoffed. 15 years ago, on New Year's Eve, you led a group of men in the middle of the night, broke into my house, and slaughtered my entire family. My father was killed at your hands, while my mother was violated to death. I watched as you, beasts, massacred the people close to me. I could never forget, nor will I ever forget, those horrifying scenes. I endured 15 years of humiliation, all to find an opportunity to kill you. However, you were too strong, and you got suspicious easily. I never felt confident enough to make a move. That was why I tried my best to please you in every way, lowering your guard slowly. Finally, I succeeded. It's been 15 years. I've waited exactly 15 years for this opportunity. By the end of it, Azalea was seething. Nobody knew how she endured those 15 years. She hid right beside her enemy, putting on a fake smile and acting thoughtful throughout the day. However, she had endless nightmares at night, never getting a peaceful night's sleep. Every night, to prevent herself from sleeping, talking, and revealing her identity, she sealed off her acupoints, rendering herself mute. For 15 years, she was extremely cautious and walked on thin ice, for she knew that once her cover was blown, it would not only put an end to her plans for revenge but also put her in a situation worse than death. Fortunately, after 15 years of waiting, determination, and hard work, she finally had a chance at revenge. How did you find out? Who told you? The Dark Lord's lips trembled. It was true that he slaughtered the Larsons back then. However, when he stormed into the final room and saw the little girl asleep on the bed, his heart was stirred with compassion. The little girl reminded him of his late daughter. Since he hadn't exposed his identity, he made a bold decision. He killed all of, taking her under his wing. He never expected that it would lead to such a calamity. Every one of your killings with my own eyes. Chapter 693. No. Impossible. You were only 6 years old back then, and you were fast asleep. The Dark Lord shook his head furiously. Azalea responded, I'd be dead now if I hadn't pretended to be asleep. You. The Dark Lord was at a loss for words. He could not believe an experienced fighter like him had been played by a 6-year-old. Since you now know the truth, you can die now. Azalea flashed a smile again. Wait. You can't kill me. The Dark Lord panicked as he clamored, don't forget that you still carry the curse that I planted in you. If I die, you won't survive either. He would plant a venomous curse on every new disciple. The first reason was to control them better, while the second was to prevent betrayals. The current situation was a perfect example. The curse. You mean this? Azalea smiled playfully and took out a clear glass bottle. Inside was a red centipede. How did you get it out? The Dark Lord's expression shifted. The curse he planted was connected to him. No one was able to break it unless the Elder of the Mystic Arts personally intervened. I knew today would come, so I asked a miracle doctor to break the curse in advance. What else do you have to say? Azalea reached out and squeezed, crushing the bottle with the centipede inside. Azalea, let me live, and I'll teach you everything I know. The Dark Lord panicked and pleaded. Due to the effects of Tranquil, he wasn't able to muster an ounce of internal energy and was rendered useless. There's no need. Once I find the Grand Sorceress and join the Mystic Arts Order, I'll naturally get What I want. Azalea was unfazed. Azalea. Even if you kill me, your parents won't come back to life. Vengeance only breeds more vengeance. Put down your blade and seek redemption. As long as you spare me, your soul can be saved. The Dark Lord preached, desperately trying to live. However, as soon as he finished his plea, Azalea raised her sword and swiftly severed his neck, showing no mercy. Ugh, the Dark Lord's voice choked. The bloody line on his neck spread rapidly, and in the next second, his head rolled off his shoulders and onto the ground with a thud. He had died with discontentment. Only when you die can my soul be saved. Azalea kicked the Dark Lord's headless corpse, sending it flying several feet away. Carrying his head, she walked out of the hall, coming to a stop in the courtyard. Looking up at the sky, the chilling snowflakes fell upon her face, carrying a sense of desolation and sorrow. Mom, Dad, can you see it? This bastard is dead. I personally killed him. I did it. I fulfilled my promise. I avenged the both of you. With a thud, Azalea dropped to the ground heavily. As she knelt, 2 lines of tears streamed slowly down her face. She had endured 15 years of humiliation. Today, she finally slayed the murderer. Vengeance was hers. Chapter 694. As night fell deeper, the snow fell heavier. Meanwhile, Hector and the others stood outside the Harmons' meeting room, waiting in silence. They occasionally stole glances inside, where Michael and Dustin were engaged in a hushed conversation. Half an hour earlier, Michael had asked everyone to leave so he could speak to Dustin privately. Mr. Rhys, that's the gist of what happened. I concealed my identity to hide from the enemy and protect Abigail from harm. Michael poured his heart out, finally releasing all the feelings he had bottled up. I never expected that Abigail's mother would turn out to be the Grand Sorceress of the Mystic Arts Order. Dustin was shocked. The Mystic Arts Order was known as the most formidable dark faction in existence, composed of talented individuals and high-level experts. The position of Grand Sorceress was prestigious. Dustin had always been curious about the protective seal inside Abigail. With her mother's identity as the Grand Sorceress revealed, everything now made sense. Though the title of Grand Sorceress sounds grand, they don't even have the basic right to freedom. I don't wish for Abigail to follow in her mother's footsteps. Michael sighed. Mr. Robinson, I don't understand. Why are you sharing your secrets with me? Dustin was confused. The Mystic Arts Order's Grand Sorceress was a prestigious position in which few had the privilege of knowing their identity. It used to be a secret, but it won't stay a secret much longer. Michael shook his head. From the moment I attacked the Dark Lord, I had exposed my identity. The Mystic Arts Order will probably be making a move soon. The disciples of the Mystic Arts Order were spread all over the world. The Dark Lord was one of them. So, what's your plan? Dustin asked. I've been on the run for so many years. It's time to face reality and resolve things once and for all. Michael frowned. Abigail is the only one I have left. I have a favor to ask of you. I hope you can take care of her for me. Me? Dustin was shocked. But I've never been a father. You don't have to be her father, you can be her mentor instead. Michael smiled. I know you've been guiding Abigail in martial arts. Since she inherited her mother's genes, she has a strong foundation. I sincerely hope you will take her in as your disciple. Mr. Robinson, you think too highly of me. You're a martial arts grandmaster. How could I dare accept her as a disciple with you here? Dustin scratched his head. Mr. Rhys, you are too humble. I've been part of the martial arts world for over a decade. I'm good at reading people, too. However, I can't seem to read through you. If I'm not mistaken, you should have already attained the level of a grandmaster. Am I right? Michael smiled profoundly. You have a good eye. It's no wonder that you are one of the 5 ultimate grandmasters. Dustin didn't deny it. Some things could be understood without being said aloud. The younger generations are talented. Michael's expression was full of wonder. A young Grandmaster martial artist is hard to find in Dragonmarsh. It would be Abigail's greatest honor to be your disciple. You're too kind, Mr. Robinson. Talents like Abigail are sought after by countless people. Dustin smiled in response. Does that mean you've agreed? Michael was surprised. As long as Abigail is okay with it, I naturally have no problems with it. Dustin nodded. Abigail was talented, and they got along well. He would be happy to take her in as a disciple. Thank you, Mr. Rhys. I'm extremely grateful. Michael stood up and shook Dustin's hand. You're welcome, Mr. Robinson. Perhaps I was fated to meet Abigail. Dustin returned the gesture. All right, I'll send Abigail over to you officially as a disciple tomorrow. Michael nodded in acknowledgement. After another short exchange, Michael left. Dustin's expression turned heavy as he watched the father-daughter duo depart. From their conversation earlier, he could tell from Michael's tone that he was already passing on his final wishes. Dustin, what did Mr. Robinson tell you? At that moment, the members of the Harmon family walked in. Chapter 695. The Harmons were naturally curious since Dustin and Michael's conversation went on for some time. Nothing much. Mr. Robinson just requested that I take care of Abigail in the future, Dustin replied. That's all. That can't be. Trent was suspicious. Yeah. Dustin shrugged. He knew that Abigail's identity as the Grand Sorceress shouldn't be made known for her safety. All right, let's set aside other matters for now. Our priority is to capture the Dark Lord. As long as he is alive, the Harmons will be in danger. Hector changed the subject. Jacob has gone after him with some of his men. I wonder how he's doing. Trent was slightly worried. Although the Dark Lord was severely injured, he was still a Grandmaster martial artist. It would be a challenge to capture him. Mr. Hector. At that moment, the butler rushed into the meeting room, holding a square gift box. What's wrong? Hector looked over at him. Mr. Hector, someone outside just passed us a gift earlier, asking us to deliver it to Mr. Rhys. The butler responded. For me. Dustin was perplexed. What is it? I'm not sure. That person said it was a surprise. The butler shook his head. A surprise. I'm curious now. Dustin smiled as he slowly opened up the box. Everyone else in the room watched, and their expressions transformed instantly. Inside the box was the severed and bloody head of the Dark Lord. Meanwhile, inside the Grant family mansion, Tyler sat alone in his study, engrossed in a game of chess. Suddenly, a fleeting shadow glided by the corner. Moments later, a woman with a mask resembling a water droplet emerged slowly from the shadows. What? Tyler remained focused on the chessboard, never once looking up. Master, I just received news that the Dark Lord failed. He didn't manage to get his hands on the treasure map, the masked woman reported in a hushed voice. What? Tyler's brows furrowed. That trash. I spent all those resources to help him attain the level of a Grandmaster, but he ends up not being able to deal with the Harmons. He's better off dead. Something unexpected happened today, Master. Michael Robinson appeared and injured the Dark Lord, the masked woman said. Michael Robinson. What was he doing at the Harmons? Tyler was confused. The masked woman replied, based on my investigation, the Harmons helped out Michael once. I guess today was the day he repaid the favor. I didn't expect the Harmons to have hidden a trump card. Tyler was deep in thought. Master, should we kidnap Natasha and threaten Hector to reveal the treasure map? The masked woman suddenly asked. That's a bad idea. Tyler shook his head. Once the existence of the treasure map is revealed, it will attract others' attention. Not to mention, Natasha's identity is somewhat special. Her maternal grandfather is no ordinary person. We can't make a move on her for now. Hector is also stubborn and persistent, so it will be hard to snatch the treasure map from him. Since it's difficult to deal with Hector, let's change our approach. Tyler smiled as if he thought of something. Traditionally, the treasure map has always been kept by the family patriarch. As long as we can sow discord among the Harmons and manipulate the succession of a new patriarch, our problem will be resolved naturally. Master, you are a genius. The masked woman caught on immediately. Go on. There is no room for failure this time. Tyler waved his hand, gesturing for her to leave. Yes, Master. The woman responded and vanished right away. Chapter 696. Inside the chairman's office at Nicholson Corp. Dahlia stood before the expansive floor-to-ceiling windows, gazing pensively at the falling snow. The city shimmered with vibrant lights, yet she was there alone. Her mother had returned home yesterday while she remained in Millsburg to settle pressing work commitments. On one hand, she truly had matters to attend to, but on the other, she was hiding. She didn't know how to explain James' death to the family. Until the real culprit was caught, Dustin remained the prime suspect. While she was lost in her thoughts, her phone suddenly rang. She was surprised to see that it was a call from Regulus Nicholson, the Nicholson family patriarch. Hello, Grandpa Regulus. How can I help you? Dahlia was quick to greet him. Dahlia, I heard from your grandpa that you won't be spending New Year's at home and will be working overtime at the office instead. Regulus asked in concern. I have pressing matters to attend to at work. It's more convenient for me to stay here. Dahlia smiled. Dahlia, it's good that you're devoted to your work. But you need to balance work and rest as well. Don't overwork yourself. Thank you for your concern, Grandpa Regulus. I'll take care of myself. Right. I called you tonight as there is something important I wish to discuss with you. Please go on. As I'm getting old, I'm no longer able to take on as many responsibilities. That is why I have decided to step down from my position and appoint you as the new head of the family, Regulus declared, dropping a bombshell. What? You want me to become the matriarch? Dahlia was shocked and refused immediately. Grandpa Regulus, that won't do. I'm too young. How can I possibly be worthy of taking your place? I've witnessed your talents and capabilities firsthand. You are entirely capable of taking on the position and leading the entire Nicholson family, Regulus said in a serious tone. Grandpa Regulus, I've only recently returned to the family. I won't be convincing as the successor. Besides, there are plenty of talented individuals in our family who would be more suitable for the role. Dahlia was in a dilemma. Managing Nicholson Corp. alone was already giving her a headache. Since her current standing within the family was still low, leading an entire aristocratic family would be an immense challenge. Our family indeed has talented people, but they are not ready to lead the family. You, on the other hand, are different. You built up your own family with your own hands and have long been ready to take on this responsibility. You're the best among the young members of the Nicholson family. No one else is more suited for the role. Grandpa Regulus, you've overestimated me. Firstly, I don't possess the family's wealth. Second, I lack connections, and third, I don't have the resources. I'm simply not qualified. Dahlia was feeling helpless. Even though she was ambitious and had considered fighting for the position, it was too early with her current standing. I can provide you with the wealth, connections, and resources you need. As long as you agree, I will personally support your succession, Regulus declared boldly. Dahlia was at a loss for words. Regulus was not merely valuing her but showering her with affection by sweeping away all obstacles for her. Grandpa Regulus, I don't understand. Why did you choose me? Dahlia inquired cautiously. With Regulus' abilities, wouldn't it be better to groom his grandson to be his successor? Why did he choose an outsider like her? Because you are the most suitable candidate and have the greatest potential to bring our family to greater heights. Regulus sounded resolute. If he were honest, he made the decision not solely based on Dahlia's exceptional talent but mainly because she had the support of a nobleman. But Dahlia was about to continue when Regulus interrupted her. Dahlia, stop refusing. Some things are meant to be fought for. I trust in your abilities. If you won't be the matriarch, nobody else can. Since Regulus put it that way, Dahlia had no other reason to refuse. She could only nod, saying, "Thank you for having confidence in me. I will try my best. Please guide me when I fall short." Chapter 697. Regulus chuckled heartily. "All right, as long as you agree. I'll arrange a family meeting tomorrow morning and officially announce you as the new head of the Nicholson family." The surprising news came without warning, leaving Dahlia in a daze even after Regulus had hung up. She hadn't achieved much, yet she was suddenly the Nicholson matriarch, dramatically elevating her status. It felt unbelievable. Although Dahlia believed she had the talent, she lacked the confidence to lead such a prominent family at this time. However, she also realized that this was an opportunity for her to rise, and she shouldn't let it slip away. She had to give it a try, regardless of whether she was prepared. The next morning, the heavy snowfall had stopped, and it was finally the new year. Dustin had just returned to the Flame Dragon gang when he saw Nelson approaching him happily. "Sir Rhys, I have good news." "What? Did your wife give birth?" Dustin asked curiously. "It's better news than that. She gave birth to twins." "Sir Rhys, can you have a better imagination?" "A better imagination. Oh, I get it now. The children are not yours." Nelson was speechless, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Dustin's responses were getting more absurd. "Sir Rhys, I'll just tell you. We found James' killer." Nelson was not going to let Dustin continue guessing. Dustin might just say his wife ran off with another man next. "The killer. Where are they?" Dustin's gaze grew cold, and he turned serious. "We beat him up half to death. He's unconscious now, but he already ratted out the mastermind," Nelson responded. "Who was it?" Dustin asked. "Nicholson Corp.'s Vice Chairman Hank Hoffman." Nelson's expression was serious. Dustin was surprised. "Hank Hoffman. Are you sure?" Nelson explained. Based on the statement, Hank intended to remove Ms. Nicholson forcefully from her position, but he couldn't do so with you backing her. So, he decided to sow discord between the two of you. It would be easier for him to accomplish his goal if you weren't on good terms with Ms. Nicholson. I can't believe he resorted to such underhanded methods to gain a small advantage. This bastard deserves to die. A murderous gaze flickered in Dustin's eyes. He had previously rejected Hank's attempts to bribe him. He didn't expect Hank to retaliate by setting him up. If he hadn't investigated the situation thoroughly, he would have fallen into Hank's trap. "Sir Rhys, what Hank did was unforgivable. I've already obtained his address and will send someone to capture him immediately." Nelson said furiously. "There's no need. I'll handle it personally this time." "Show me the way," Dustin said with a hardened expression. "Right away." Without hesitating, Nelson quickly went to get the car. The gravity of the situation was evident since Dustin had decided to get involved personally. Hank wouldn't be able to escape this time. Chapter 698. In a luxurious private room at Ibiza Club, Hank was enthusiastically entertaining a bald man in glasses. A few alluring hostesses were by their sides, providing attentive service. "Mr. Niles, thank you for traveling all the way here. This is our show of sincerity. We hope you like it." Hank took out a check and placed it on the table, sliding it forward. The bald Niles only glanced at it before ignoring it, and he continued to drink with the beautiful women beside him. "Oh, look at me. I almost forgot to pass you a welcoming gift as well." Hank caught on immediately and took out another gift box, passing it to him with both hands. Niles opened the box and saw a gold bar that weighed a few kilograms. It was worth around $1 to $2 million. Niles chuckled gleefully. "Hank, that's so generous of you. There's no need for such extravagant gifts between us," he said as he put them away nonchalantly. "Considering you traveled from Estonia, these are nothing." While Hank smiled politely, he inwardly mused that this cunning individual seemed to be growing greedier. However, since he needed Niles' assistance, he could only remain silent. Mr. Niles, I'm wondering if you bought anything with you on your trip this time. Hank asked tentatively. Don't worry, I didn't forget. This isn't the first time anyway, Niles said as he took out a small, purple vial from his pocket and passed it to Hank. Hank's eyes lit up as he reached out to receive the vial. However, Niles retracted his hand with a warning. Mr. Hoffman, I'm just reminding you that this is an extremely valuable item. There is only one such vial made every year, and your grandmother relies on this precious herb to live. You better not lose it. Never. This treasure is more valuable than my life. I assure you, I won't lose it. Hank nodded incessantly. Very well, I'm entrusting it to you now. You're responsible for anything that happens after, Niles said, placing the purple vial in Hank's hands. Thank you, Mr. Niles. Hank was delighted. He took out a safe he had brought with him, carefully placing the vial in it. This item was worth a fortune and couldn't be bought with money. It was also a precious item that Alma relied on to survive. Naturally, he had to take extreme care of it. Hank Hoffman. Suddenly, the private room was violently kicked in, and a group of fighters with menacing expressions barged their way in furiously. Each of them had a knife in hand. Who are you? How dare you make a scene in my area? Hank's expression darkened. You seem to be having fun, Mr. Hoffman. How is it that you have the time to be drinking here? The men stepped aside to make way for Dustin and Nelson, who slowly walked inside. It's you. Hank's brows furrowed. Mr. Rhys, what is the meaning of this? There are no grievances between us, why have you brought your men here? You son of a bitch. You're still pretending, I see. What do you mean by, no grievances, when you set up our leader? Nelson bellowed. I don't understand what you mean. Hank acted clueless. You ordered James to be killed, didn't you? Dustin asked out of the blue. James. Hank shook his head. I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. There must have been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. With a frosty smile, Nelson gestured. Bring him in. On his orders, a man covered in injuries was forcefully brought in. Hank's expression shifted at the sight of the man. He finally realized something was up. These people had come prepared. Hank Hoffman, do you know this man? Dustin asked calmly. No, I don't. Who is he? Hank remained unyielding. You son of a bitch. Nelson raised his hand, delivering a forceful slap that sent Hank sprawling to the ground. Nelson berated. You're still trying to argue at this point. This man confessed to everything, and you were the one who hired him. Nonsense. I don't know any murderers. Stop making false accusations. Hank shouted in fury, I'm warning you. I have the matriarch of the Glenstead Nicholsons backing me. Chapter 699. You dickhead. I don't think you realize the gravity of the situation. Nelson was furious and was about to smack Hank again when Dustin stopped him. You mean the Nicholsons were involved in this? Why? Are you finally scared? Hank sneered. That's more like it. You'll be offending the Nicholsons if you offend me. Now, get out of here. I'm giving you one last chance. Confess and surrender yourself to the authorities, and I'll let you go. Dustin's expression was cold. What a load of crap. Hank glared at Dustin. Don't think I'm afraid of you just because you're the leader of the Flame Dragon gang. Your small gang is nothing compared to the aristocratic Nicholsons. They could exterminate you in seconds. It seems like you won't talk without a lesson. Slice his hand off. Dustin cut through the nonsense. Yes, sir. Nelson smirked. He ordered two of their henchmen to pin Hank to the table. Wait. I'm warning you, don't you dare touch me. The Nicholsons will not let you get away with it if you do. Hank panicked and struggled desperately. Go on, don't stop. Let's see how long you can keep up this act. Nelson raised his knife and ruthlessly brought it down on Hank's wrist. Ah! Blood splattered everywhere as Hank's blood-curdling scream echoed throughout the room. Why you? Hank's expression twisted in agony as he groaned. He couldn't believe they had hurt him. Weren't they afraid of the Nicholsons' wrath? Still not going to talk? Slice off his other hand, Dustin ordered again. Yes, sir. Without another word, Nelson raised his knife once more. Mr. Niles, save me. Hank screamed in fear. Stop right there. At that moment, Niles, who had been silent the entire time, finally stood up. Who are you? I'm warning you to mind your own business. Nelson's expression was hostile. Niles' expression darkened. Do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like that? You must not want to live. I don't fucking care who you are. Nelson was getting impatient. The audacity. He's a prominent figure from Estonia, the Killian family's butler. Hank cried out. The Killians. Nelson could feel his eyes twitch, and his earlier arrogance disappeared instantly. The Killians were one of Estonia's prestigious, aristocratic families. As a family with a history spanning over 100 years, they wielded immense power. Even the tremendous Three of Millsburg were inferior to the Killians. After all, Dolatonia was the capital city. Any random, minor aristocratic family from Estonia was already leagues above any family in Millsburg, let alone an influential one like the Killians. I don't understand what you mean. Hank acted clueless. You ordered James to be killed, didn't you? Dustin asked out of the blue. James. Hank shook his head. I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. There must have been a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. With a frosty smile, Nelson gestured. Bring him in. On his orders, a man covered in injuries was forcefully brought in, and Hank's expression shifted at the sight of the man. He finally realized something was up. These people had come prepared. Hank Hoffman, do you know this man? Dustin asked calmly. No, I don't. Who is he? Hank remained unyielding. You son of a bitch. Nelson raised his hand, delivering a forceful slap that sent Hank sprawling to the ground. Nelson berated. You're still trying to argue at this point. This man confessed to everything, and you were the one who hired him. Nonsense. I don't know any murderers. Stop making false accusations. Hank shouted in fury, I'm warning you. I have the matriarch of the Glenstead Nicholsons backing me. Chapter 699. You dickhead. I don't think you realize the gravity of the situation. Nelson was furious and was about to smack Hank again when Dustin stopped him. You mean the Nicholsons were involved in this? Why? Are you finally scared? Hank sneered. That's more like it. You'll be offending the Nicholsons if you offend me. Now, get out of here. I'm giving you one last chance. Confess and surrender yourself to the authorities, and I'll let you go. Dustin's expression was cold. What a load of crap. Hank glared at Dustin. Don't think I'm afraid of you just because you're the leader of the Flame Dragon gang. Your small gang is nothing compared to the aristocratic Nicholsons. They could exterminate you in seconds. It seems like you won't talk without a lesson. Slice his hand off. Dustin cut through the nonsense. Yes, sir. Nelson smirked. He ordered two of their henchmen to pin Hank to the table. Wait. I'm warning you, don't you dare touch me. The Nicholsons will not let you get away with it if you do. Hank panicked and struggled desperately. Go on, don't stop. Let's see how long you can keep up this act. Nelson raised his knife and ruthlessly brought it down on Hank's wrist. Ah! Blood splattered everywhere as Hank's blood-curdling scream echoed throughout the room. Why you? Hank's expression twisted in agony as he groaned. He couldn't believe they had hurt him. Weren't they afraid of the Nicholsons' wrath? Still not going to talk? Slice off his other hand, Dustin ordered again. Yes, sir. Without another word, Nelson raised his knife once more. Mr. Niles, save me. Hank screamed in fear. Stop right there. At that moment, Niles, who had been silent the entire time, finally stood up. Who are you? I'm warning you to mind your own business. Nelson's expression was hostile. Niall's expression darkened. Do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like that? You must not want to live. I don't fucking care who you are. Nelson was getting impatient. The audacity. He's a prominent figure from Estonia, the Killian family's butler. Hank cried out. The Killians. Nelson could feel his eyes twitch, and his earlier arrogance disappeared instantly. The Killians were one of Estonia's prestigious, aristocratic families. As a family with a history spanning over 100 years, they wielded immense power. Even the tremendous Three of Millsburg were inferior to the Killians. After all, Estonia was the capital city. Any random, minor aristocratic family from Estonia was already leagues above any family in Millsburg, let alone an influential one like the Killians. Ha! Why did you go silent? Where's all that arrogance now? I dare you to try anything with the Killian family's butler here. Hank's expression twisted into a hideous sneer. He knew that few would dare to provoke the Killians. This is between us and Hank. It's best if the Killians stay out of it, Dustin responded calmly. Hey, kid, are you lecturing me? Niles took his time lighting a cigar before taking 2 deep puffs. With an air of arrogance, he declared, you seem oblivious to my status. Listen up. I'm not going to repeat myself. I am the Killian family's butler. You ants will always remain beneath me, as I hold the power to play with your lives. I can have all of you killed with just 1 word. Now, I order you to immediately. Before Niles could finish his sentence, a thunderous noise similar to an explosion rang out. He had been sent flying, crashing heavily into a wall. His bones shattered as he spewed blood, and he was rendered unconscious on the spot. Chapter 700. My ears hurt. Dustin's expression turned frosty. Without hesitation, he sent Niles flying with a brutal kick. What? Nelson and their men were dumbfounded at the sight. Hank couldn't believe his eyes either, and he momentarily forgot about his pain. Nobody expected Dustin to act so ruthlessly without uttering a single word. He had just kicked the Killian family's butler and a prominent figure from Estonia. 1 simple word from him could end their entire lives. Most importantly, the butler represented the Killians. Humiliating their butler was akin to humiliating the family themselves. How could Dustin be so daring and seemingly unconcerned about his own life? Why you dared harm Mr. Niles. Do you know what you just did? Hank was scared and furious as he cried out. He's just the Killian's servant. What's the big deal? Dustin turned his attention back to Hank and warned coldly, you, on the other hand, will be in big trouble if you don't start talking. After meeting Dustin's icy stare, Hank felt a chill run down his spine. He was genuinely terrified at that moment. To him, Dustin seemed like a madman for daring to harm Niles. Silent still. Cut off all his limbs, Dustin ordered once again. Yes, sir. Nelson grinned as he raised his blade once more. Wait. I'll talk. Hank was terrified and surrendered immediately. However, despite that, the steel knife still came down with a whoosh, slicing Hank's hand off. Hank's mind went blank as he met Nelson's twisted smile. You damned. Hank's words were cut off by the intensity of the pain, and he lost consciousness. Lightly bandage up his wound. We're heading to Nicholson Corp. Dustin ordered. Yes, sir. 2 henchmen dragged Hank out after wrapping his arm up. Sir Rhys, take a look at this. Suddenly, Nelson's sharp gaze noticed the safe on the table. After they opened it up, they saw a delicate purple vial inside. Dustin picked it up and brought it to his nose. After a sniff, his expression betrayed his surprise. I didn't expect it to be zirconium. Interesting. Zirconium. What is that? Nelson was curious. It's a slow-acting poison, but taking it induces a comfortable and energized feeling. They won't even feel any more pain. It's effective in treating specific illnesses. As it is extremely rare, it is worth a fortune, Dustin explained. Is it really that amazing? Nelson's eyes lit up. Indeed it is, but it is still poison after all. One will get addicted easily, and it has been banned in the martial world, Dustin responded. What would Hank need it for? Nelson scratched his head. Who knows? Let's just hold on to it for now. It's worth a lot anyway, Dustin replied nonchalantly and kept the vial in his pocket. He knew it could act as a lifeline for certain people. In the chairman's office at Nicholson Corp.